Before we get very far into our next story, we do have a warning for you tonight. What you're about to see and hear may not be suitable for children. Tonight, take a walk in their world.
Transpicuous news, connecting the dots between the lines.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Transpicuous News. It's 2016, and yeah, the world's kind of gone to hell in a handbasket, a little faster than I anticipated, but hey, it's a new year, started off with a bang, apparently. It is January 4th, and in the last 48 hours, in case you hadn't been watching, the world kind of is blowing up all over the place. We're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about what's not being said. We're going to talk about all the distraction, what could be distraction, and maybe what the distractions kind of mean. I'm telling you, a lot of interesting things happened in the last 48 hours. So, of course, everyone, alternative media, social media is just freaking out over it, is, of course, the Oregon stuff. So, yeah, we're not going to actually talk about this. Well, we are. But we're not going to get into the details because you've all read it. Within 24 hours of it happening, there was a Wikipedia page set up for it, which I thought was kind of humorous. Yeah, you got to wonder. Timing is everything in these things, and the timing of this one, I'm not so sure I'm believing in a coincidental happening. So, you've all read the story. You've got the Bundys, as they call them, which I think is funny. The Bundys they've taken over a federal building in Oregon, and there's a big standoff. And of course, it's been like, I don't know, close to 72 hours now, and the government hasn't done anything. So you have a whole bunch of people who are now turning this into a race thing, right? Oh, well, if they were black. Oh, if they were Muslim. Oh, if they were, and hey, you know what? Pretty fucking good questions. Why hasn't the government done anything? Well, distract. There's a lot going on around the world right now. In the last 4 days, the Middle East has exploded. The last 48 hours, the Middle East has literally gone freaking insane. So there's a lot of stuff going on. And I find it convenient that all of a sudden, all the attention is all being forced over here. Oh, let's all look at this standoff that's going on in this federal building. And like I said, there's a lot of stuff going on. I'm not even remotely going to get involved in the actual conversation of what this is about. But I just want to say this, right? The co-opting factor, we've seen it play out over and over and over again. I used to work closely with a lot of different militias back in 2011, etc., 2012. Most of these guys are hardcore constitutionalists, right? I get it. But any group, any organization, go away, fly. Seriously. I have a fly stuck in my hair. Are you kidding me? Great. Only on Transpicuous News can you see Danny get attacked by a fly. Anyways, anyone can be taken over. Any group can be co-opted. We have seen this before. And when I look at the timing of this, when I look at, oh, we're talking about gun control agenda. Oh, what is Obama's just come out today? He's always going to pass a new gun control set of laws, etc., etc. This, to me, looks like a whole lot of a powder keg and a whole lot of contrived distraction. So, while everyone is looking at what's going on in Oregon, I'm going to take you a little bit on the other side of the world. We're going to see what's going on. Now, Yesterday I put out an article. I've got terrible internet today too. We've got a really bad windstorm. Yesterday I put out an article instead of doing a recording with just all the links, all the Middle East, what's going on in the Middle East right now. So this is a very, very big stuff going on. We'll take a look. The biggest piece of news was, of course, on Saturday, Saudi Arabia executed 47 people at the same time. Biggest execution, public execution they've had since 1980, I think. One of those people who was executed is a prominent Shiite cleric, al-Nimr. Now, this would be, for those who don't understand, this is kind of, for the Shiite Muslims, the equivalent of kind of like, in Christian terms, them executing a bishop. Just to put this out here. So basically, the Sunni nation of Saudi Arabia, not really Sunni, but we're not going to get into this at this moment, but the Sunni nation of Saudi Arabia executes a Shiite cleric who is from Iran. You see where this is going. So basically, all hell has broken loose over the last 48 hours over this. I guess we're now into 72 hours, pretty close to that now. We have riots all over the Middle East. In Iran, they demolished the Saudi embassy. The people demolished the Saudi embassy. They set it on fire. It is a huge disaster. People are protesting in the streets all over the Middle East. Now, we have the backlash to that. Saudi Arabia has kicked all the Iranian diplomats out. They've cut all commercial ties. They've stopped all flights to Iran. This is followed by Bahrain and Sudan also severing all ties with Iran. The UAE is reducing the number of diplomats. This is a major piece. The violence that's going on right now in the Middle East over this is astronomical. This is not just a little, oopsie. This was, again, you got to look at it, timing-wise. The cleric that they executed has been in prison under a death sentence since 2012, yet they picked this weekend to execute him. Oh, right there on the New Year's, the whole start off of everything else happening. Now, this was an excellent map. This was on Zero Hedge. I'll actually post this down below with all the links, just to give people an idea of the sectarian war that is taking place right now in the Middle East. This gives you the balance of Sunni versus the Shia, the ruling parties in each country. They'll give you a little bit of an idea of the ties, etc., between different countries. Now, in Iraq, there was a Sunni mosque was blown up over the weekend in Iraq, saying it wasn't the Shiites doing it. No, it was ISIS. Oh, interesting. ISIS blows up a Sunni mosque in Iraq, a predominantly Shiite Muslim nation, to incite more war in Iraq? Yes, me smells a rat for sure. Now, here we go. We've got Turkey. Iraq is still dealing with the mess. Turkey is still in Iraq after invading Iraq weeks ago. And Iraq has told them to get the hell out, and they still have not left. Now there's a lot of people saying, oh, this is starting to get like, Iraq is actually demanding, now officially demanding, get the hell out. And Turkey hasn't left. What's next? Well, let's go back up a little bit. Let's take a look at this little map here. Oh, Turkey is a 99% Muslim country, mostly Sunni, 1% other. Give you a little bit of an idea of what's going on. Okay, now, here's the interesting thing. Very interesting interview came out today on RT with a Middle East specialist who says the Wahhabi Muslim Brotherhood, more escalation ahead in the Saudi-Iran crisis. Now, he's talking about the fact of everything that's gone on. One paragraph I want to read to you. We have seen King Salman adopting a more sectarian policy whereby they are trying to create a so-called Sunni bloc. But I think it's wrong for you to use the word Sunni. What I'd say is a Wahhabi Muslim Brotherhood bloc. There's that word again, Wahhabi. That is a more appropriate wording to use given the fact that Saudi Arabia is enhancing its ties with Turkey, which is considered to be very closely aligned with the Muslim Brotherhood. That, my friends, is a massive piece that was given out. Now, like I said, removing the shackles, a couple of months ago, I wrote a major article on the history of Wahhabism. Where does it come from? Who set it up? Who invented it? Who were the leaders? I'll put the link to that article down below too, because it is vital for people to understand what Wahhabism is and where it comes from. Okay, now we're going to go on because here we go. In Yemen, okay, we've talked about this a little bit in recent news reports. Well, in Yemen, they're kind of kicking Saudi's ass. We have had a major upgrade in armaments in Yemen. No one says where they've come from. Major upgrade. 11 ships, Saudi ships, have been sunk. And I'm not talking, pardon me, shipping ships. I'm talking like destroyers, Navy ships. 11 have been sunk in the Gulf of Aden. They've blown up airports. They've blown up Air Force bases. And this is in Saudi, not in Yemen. They are now attacking Saudi directly. Okay, this one oil deposit area has been hit twice. This is a major piece. Again, they're saying Saudi Arabia has lost over 500 troops in the last week alone. This is becoming a very, very expensive war for Saudi Arabia. And they are not financially capable of keeping going. It's going to be interesting to watch how this plays out over the next couple of months with Saudi Arabia. Now, here's the thing. While all of that is going on, and you have all the attention, anything dealing with the Middle East, all the attention is on the Iran-Saudi war that's kind of being perpetuated at the moment. What is not being talked about, at all by Western media, it would seem, is the fact that Israel has escalated its own war. And Israel is now firing, they shelled into Lebanon, they sent bombs into, missiles into Lebanon this morning. Syria, Palestine. It's very, very interesting. As it says here, the Lebanese media reported that the IDF fired 20 shells in the vicinity of the Sheba farm, also known as Mount Dove. And then it goes on to list the back and forth missile fire. Now, this is just Lebanon. This is the worst escalation since the month-long war of 2006 between Israel and Hezbollah, in which Tel Aviv views as a terrorist organization. So, worse than 2006. Right now, what we are seeing is a complete repeat of June and July of 2014, where the Israeli military wiped out thousands of Palestinians. It's happening again, right now. Okay? We're talking, they've dropped bombs on, well, as I said, over in Lebanon, in Syria, and in Palestine. Every day. No one's talking about that. But it gets more interesting because today, oh, wait a second, apparently we're missing a couple of slides. Oh, sorry, folks. I'll just have to tell you about it because today the UN's head of human rights quit his job over the fact that Israel refuses to grant him access to the Palestinian states for him to be able to go in and do his job. So he quit today. Now, the other major piece, today is also the day that the treaty between the Holy See, the Vatican, and the state of Palestine comes into play. This is the day it starts. As of today, the Holy See has recognized Palestine as the state of Palestine. Those of you who understand the significance of what the Vatican says and the power behind their words will understand. Israel's a little pissed at the moment, but it's escalating. Now, on New Year's Eve report, I talked about all the meetings that were happening between India and Afghanistan, India and Pakistan and Afghanistan. Peace accords, snap meetings being held between leaders of countries and their heads of military. And since that time, it has blown up. So 5 days, there have been multiple terrorist attacks. Okay, 7 killed in a gun battle after terrorists stormed the Indian air base near the Pakistani border. Okay, this one was a big one. This went on for 2.5 days, I think. You have the fact of 2 major attacks. There was one I reported on New Year's. It happened the day before New Year's Eve, I think on the 30th, where terrorists bombed a NATO convoy. Yesterday, terrorist suicide truck targets a U.S. convoy. Again, every single time someone whispers peace in Afghanistan, in Pakistan or India, it's the exact same thing happens. All of a sudden, there's drone attacks and people get wiped out, etc., etc. We're seeing the exact same thing play out again. And I knew it was going to go this way. Something else that's going on, and this is kind of interesting. Okay, 1,000 crack SAS British troops are being deployed to Libyan oil fields to halt the advance of ISIS. Now, it's not just 1,000 SAS soldiers. No, approximately 6,000 European and US soldiers, including the 1,000 troops, are all going to defend Libya's oil fields. What's kind of interesting about this is they mention the fact that, there was that big announcement. We discussed this on Transpicuous News a couple of weeks ago, where the UN has brokered a peace amongst the governments who are set up in Libya. Okay, well, guess what? That A, it was a farce to begin with. B, that hasn't been set into place. So who's authorizing the US and Britain and Europe to go in and look over Libya's oil fields for them and protect them from ISIS? Because I'd like to know. I'd also like to know why. This is an RRT, but you know what? I had to seriously go searching through British media to find anything about this. This, you can see how tiny the article is? Little teeny article. SES to spearhead operation involving 1,000 British troops to wrest back control of 12 oil fields from ISIS in Libya. That was about it. But I found this one on the BBC. No mention of British troops going whatsoever, but the Libyan oil port of Sidra has been attacked by the Islamic State. Now, this is funny. Again, in December, Libya's rival politicians signed a UN brokered deal to form a unity government, but it has not yet been implemented. So again, who's giving them permission to go into the country and look after the oil fields? And do the British people, hey, all my English friends out there, Scottish and Welsh and Irish and all the rest of you guys, do you know about this? Do you know that they're sending your troops into Libya? Because I'm pretty sure you don't. Pretty sure that this little article on the BBC will be one of the spearhead articles that will be referred back to when they finally get around to actually, the government announcing this to people. New Year's Eve, Dubai. High-rise, 65-story high-rise hotel burns for well over a day. And it didn't fall down, by the way. I just want to say, 38 floors on fire. It didn't fall down. No free fall, no nothing. But there's shit going on in Dubai too. Like all the gold that went missing. A huge amount of gold has gone missing in Dubai. And one of the major gold brokerages has just closed its doors, and its executive board just disappeared. More interesting stuff. Now, on the flip side today, in finance, China, for the first time ever, halted all trading in the Shanghai when it dropped over 7.5% on open. They halted trading. China's never done that. Now, here's the whole thing. It gets really interesting because Europe didn't do a hell of a lot better. As a matter of fact, the DAX, I think, lost 4.5% today. What is interesting? Zero hedge. A close-up look at the market ripple, which stopped stocks tumbling at 11:01 a.m. this morning. Because when I watched the market open, they went into free fall. The Dow was down almost 3 full percent. And at 11:01, magically, a funny thing happened. Amid deep plunges in stocks, someone suddenly traded an enormous block of E-mini S&P futures, which appeared to stall the sell-off for now. This followed a similar but smaller block trade at 10:42 Eastern AM, which also extracted all the liquidity from the market momentarily, and it enabled a brief rally. So, again, what did somebody do? Oh shit, we are up shit's creek. Because you got to remember, the U.S. market's the last one to open. They've already watched Asia tank. The Nikkei lost almost 5% today. They've already seen Europe plummeting. Oh crap, do something. Someone make a major, masterful trade. Oh, look, more smoke and mirrors. Look. You don't see nothing. Look. Oh, it's all better. Did cat bounce anyone? We're gonna watch. We're dealing with distraction. Little announcement that happened conveniently New Year's Day, again, when no one's really paying attention to the news, that Germany, through a chain of grocery stores, mind you, is going to reintroduce the Deutschmark temporarily for nostalgia's sake. Yeah, it's all about nostalgia because people have such a deep nostalgia for the Deutschmark. This supermarket chain is going to be accepting Deutschmarks. Important point, because we saw a very interesting article come out between Christmas and New Year's in 2014. Again, about the Deutschmark. About the fact that the Deutschmark is still a legal tender. There is still a current exchange rate at 1.92 Deutschmarks to the euro, which has been in place since 2002, which means if there's an exchange rate, the Deutschmark is still an active currency. Like I say, all kinds of interesting stories about the Deutschmark. All kinds of interesting stories. So, the question is, There is a lot going on right now, and there's a lot to distract people from. It's a tough thing to discern the distraction sometimes, and to discern what's a deliberate distraction and what maybe has more simmering underneath, i.e. what's going on in Oregon at the moment. But just going to go out on a limb here and say I think there's a good chance you'll be seeing me back again really, really soon, because, yeah, things are hot and heavy at the moment. It's kind of interesting. But we'll see how it all plays out. Keep your eye on the Middle East. Something's going to come out of this. Some big announcement, I think. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays. And keep your eye on Turkey, because they are up to all kinds of shenanigans. And that's it for tonight's report. As I said, I'll be back soon. Almost guaranteed. Oh, wait, one last thing I will add. Be prepared. We have some really, really wild weather going on right now. If you're not paying attention, 43 deaths in the United States for tornadoes when it's not tornado season over Christmas. Massive flooding in England, massive flooding in South America, flooding all over the world. We, at this moment, are having a huge windstorm, which is coming in completely opposite direction it should be, really. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on, folks. Definitely keep your eye on the ball, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.
Transpicuous News, connecting the dots between the lines.